trash. I just thought the conversation was interesting. I like both these people, Hank and John Green. Good guys, good fellas. They are talking about, well, they're doing a Q&A on Dear Hank and John, episode 421. Dang, we just missed it. And the title's called Cancer Turned Me Into an Atheist, so I was interested. And I thought about it, and I didn't know if it was Hank talking about it, because I know that he's non-religious. And I know John is sort of religious in like a deistic way, kind of. But it's actually a fan question that they're reading. So I thought the conversation was interesting.
No joke. This question is from McKenna, who asks, hello, Hank and John. My name is McKenna, and I had cancer 3 years ago, leukemia. I made it out fine, but my mental worldview shifted dramatically. I grew up going to Protestant Christian churches and consider myself to have faith in the Bible. My hospital stay drastically changed me into an atheist, or if I do believe in God, I don't like the guy very much. Believing in humanity is hard, and I've had a hard time coping with that transition. Any advice?
Interesting. The anger that one feels when they stop being a religious person, you know, you go through apostasy and you deconstruct your religion. It's like all of you guys get angry. And is it like, I guess the people in chat that have gone through this, because I haven't, can maybe speak to it. Is it like that you've been lied to? Is it like that things are changing? It's just like a disruptive time and you're just like kind of emotional about it? Like, where does the anger lie? Because I feel like a lot of them, like, atheists, my whole career, I've been accused of being angry at God, and I've never experienced that emotion because I don't believe in him, you know? Someone's never stopped being angry. Well, yeah, but sure, I mean, that's fine. Like, what is that? What does it feel like? Where's it come from? What's it? I realized everything was a lie, and it rocked my fucking world. That I was taught to feel bad and disgusted for being bad. Anger at wasting my energy on lies, pretending to believe and wouldn't talk about it. Trusted authority figures and its lies. To some extent, they're also lied to, right? So it's like hard to be like fully mad, but it's like also they have the same or similar information that you do at this point, obviously. And so it's like ignorance and it's frustrating. It's not that different from a political belief. The anger at how much time was wasted, the distrust, the lies, purity culture. For me, it was how much it was used to control me and others. That's interesting, yeah. So, I mean, pretty much the stuff I thought it would be, but just frustrated at the gravity of and massive size of the industry is what I feel like would resonate with me.
I think we should turn to the cancer survivor on this one.
I guess, but I haven't had any crises.
If you don't know, Hank survived cancer.
He's a faith in my life.
That's true. I have. So you answer from the cancer survivor perspective, and I'll answer from the constant crisis of faith perspective.
Sure. I mean, one thing about that is...
because Hank doesn't have this thing.
That is changing about cancer is that it's usually, not always, but usually you come out with a bunch of friends from that community, and those people don't all make it. And that was the case for me. That, for me, isn't that hard to sort of place into the history of humanity.
Right.
Or, sort of like my understanding of how physics and biology and chemistry work. I honestly feel, in terms of humanity, I don't feel like I lost any appreciation for humanity because I saw a lot of humanity. I saw a lot of humanity in the people who love me and the people who love my friends who died. I saw a lot of humanity in the healthcare system. That obviously can be inhumane, but like in terms of the actual people in it, are just a bunch of people trying to do their best given the systems that we have. And
I feel like being an atheist and like actually understanding the world you live in helps with this, because like if God loves you, why does he let you suffer is like, the whole point of many parts of the Bible. Job is a great example of it. It is impossible to reconcile that your God loves you, and also, by the way, here's leukemia and all these other suffering people and all the ills of humanity and everything that comes with it. Hardcore Christians go, well, we deserve to suffer because of sin, and they don't think anything past that. And then like a thinking person might go, but who put us in this box of sin? You know what I mean? Who allowed humanity to have the capacity for sin? Who set the parameters for sin to do what it does? Why couldn't sin's penalties be lesser than they are, or different than they are? Or why couldn't someone be given an opportunity for reformation? Why is a God punitive? It seems to just be an archaic idea that came from old-timey people that thought punitive reprimand was constructive in their tumultuous pre-Bronze Age lifestyle.
And I learned a lot about sort of myself and what I wanted, and was a bit surprised and honestly pleased to find that I wasn't worried about like missing the future. I wasn't worried about, lost income, though I, of course, had the privilege of not having to worry about that too much in terms of like practical considerations. I was just worried about like not being there for the people who I love and what they would carry forward if I wasn't here.
That is my concern as well with death as a materialist atheist. It's not like my lack of experiencing things, although selfishly I would like to, like an elf, experience and learn all sorts of things about the cosmos and the nature of reality, and enjoy good food and good friends and art and live like a fucking vampire forever. Ultimately, my concern with death is just like, hey, how's my family going to be? You know what I mean? Like, I uphold a hardy pillar of my family and household. When that falls away, what is there in the wake of it? And so that's it. But like in a religious sense, like, it's like, why does God allow this? Why is this happening to me? Am I part of some larger plan? Why does that plan involve my death? Have I done enough to save myself from the sins? Is thinking about this sinful enough to keep me from going to heaven and ending up in hell just by questioning God? Should I not question God even though my life is going crazy and like things are changing for me? Like, it's just like full of conundrums and instability because you don't confront it.
And so that made me like kind of feel good about myself. And it was like lessons that I feel like I don't want to lose a hold of.
Mm-hmm. I think part of what a lot of people struggle with in the wake of life-threatening illness, and, I've had little glimpses of this. I recovered from a pretty serious, somewhat life-threatening bout of meningitis, for instance. But I haven't had the kind of glimpse of it that you've had or McKenna's had. But I think a lot of what people struggle with is on the other side of that, like a lot of your preconceived notions are challenged. Now, a lot of your preconceived notions weren't challenged, which is interesting, but I think McKenna's were,
Well, yeah, because Hank is a materialist. So, someone who's a Christian is definitely going to have some preconceived notions shattered when met with mortality and, the cruelty of reality.
Especially if you grow up hearing everything happens for a reason, or you grow up hearing like God has some kind of master plan for us, and then you see up close that master plan, if it exists, as McKenna says, is the kind of thing where I don't like the guy very much.
Right.
I'm not.
Right.
I don't love the master plan.
Yeah. I mean, could we have just like like you're a pretty clever guy up there?
Yeah. Couldn't you have had a better
out?
master plan?
Yeah.
Right. Yes, the master plan. It's a cool concept. Ooh, what if we're special? We're not. We're animals on a rock, and it's super interesting. I don't know. And like, can you just zoom out? I wish humanity could truly zoom out. We need to get everybody on shrooms as fast as possible. Spike the water supply. Zoom out and understand, like, the reality you live. Like, really try to. The hugeness of it. The literal. It's so big we can't see the edges of it. We don't know what's past it. Because light, boundless and insane as light, the physics and property of light are, like literally the fastest possible thing that exists, too slow to see to the edges of the known universe. We don't know. It's amazing. It's an amazing place. And furthermore, our Earth, a small speck inside, like literally smaller than a grain of sand in an ocean desert, literally smaller relatively, the Earth to the relative size of the universe, infinitely more interesting than any of the myths that these people make up about their God or whatever. And it's so small-minded. Like, okay, can you truly conceive that there is no master plan? Isn't that more crazy? Isn't that more amazing to you? There is no God. There is no master plan. There's no pilot. We are circumstances of physics and biology. And mathematically speaking, at least in this solar system, it seems pretty unlikely, but still probable that life exists, right? When given the circumstances, life will exist. Over the course of billions of years, it will evolve. And eventually, it looks like eukaryotic cells will colonize and create complex beings capable of understanding that they are bits of the universe, observing themselves. That's insane. You are literally an avatar of the universe. A crazy thing. And it's not a metaphysical sense. It's not a woo-woo thing. It's a literal truth of reality that you are made of the universe and observing it. So cool. Our cells come from infinity and will one day return to it. And hopefully, not hopefully, like just truly, one day, even though we all started together, all our particles will all end. And just someday it'll be gone. But I mean, just like for trillions, I am saying that your body is a wonderland.
Or indeed, like if the master plan is so far beyond my understanding, why was I given this ability to grieve so deeply and to hurt so much?
Yeah, which we don't need to have.
We don't.
I mean, we may, in order to.
Well, we don't
be ourselves, but
maybe. Yeah. But almost all in my experience, almost all the.
We don't need to have it with a God that exists. We have these reactions as animals because something about seeing the depiction of death, especially in regards to things that we like and see ourselves in, are ourselves. It's traumatizing to us, so that, to keep us living, to be like, well, I'm not going to die like that. Ape strong together. We are.
Lessons I learned from my friends dying or from serious illness or whatever are lessons that I could have learned elsewhere more cheaply. Mm-hmm. That I didn't have to, in my opinion.
Love calling that more cheaply instead of losing someone.
Anyway, but part of what's happening for McKenna maybe is when they say, I have a hard time believing in humanity, is that they are struggling to see what you have seen, which is that people are capable of astonishing sacrifice and compassion and kindness and generosity, and instead is seeing a lot of what is also true of humanity, right? Which is that humanity is monstrous and a catastrophe.
I think it makes a lot of sense to understand why we're a monstrous catastrophe and also capable of incredible good is, the reality, like I've been saying. We're animals, man. It's rough. Carl Sagan has a nice thing about 4D space-time where it's possible the past still exists just as much as the future already, and we are just only capable of observing the moment we are currently in and forever experiencing it. Yeah, kinda, sure. Relative to my experience, it doesn't matter, but yeah, that's kind of cute and poetic. It gives me no comfort. The comfort that I feel is just that how natural this all is. Like, it just is. It just is. We're so inevitable and interesting, and I don't know. It's really cool to be a thing that exists.
And how do you hold those competing ideas in your mind at the same time? I don't have an easy answer for that.
I do. I don't know if it's an easy answer. It's a complex answer. But it's like, and maybe Hank is also feeling this, where it's like, well, materially speaking, like, it makes a lot of sense. We're kind of fucked up animals. And like, if you can understand evolution, you can understand time scale, so you can understand, and then if you can understand generational trauma, you can understand that how maybe we're a bunch of fucked up people from generations of savage, barbarous living, and only in the last 3 generations have we been moving in a direction that one could call less barbarous for the world. And really, that's like getting rid of stuff that feels so antiquated as slavery and shit. That was, 6 generations ago? 5?
But I think you have to.
Yeah, I also, like, I just do,
I know.
Yeah.
You are able to, but a lot of us struggle to. We want a simple, straightforward answer to, is humanity good or bad?
No. Humanity is not good or bad. But yes, it's good and bad. Like, it's not cosmically good or bad. It's is it good or bad for the well-being of the other things that occupy space with us, including ourselves? And it's both. It's both.
Humanity good news or bad news? Is humanity a gift or a curse? Like, is consciousness itself something to be reveled in or something to be despised?
Both. Yeah, these aren't contradictions. They're just, like, they're not neat and to be able to be put into one category, because the capacity for consciousness allows us to have things like depression. You can get sad just by thinking of possible realities that could happen. That's not a kind form of sapience. I don't think like that's not good. You can get depressed because it's rainy outside. You can get depressed from like one really traumatic event can just fuck you up forever. Like we said, it's like multiple of course can too, but it can just be down to one thing. It could be one time. It could be 30 seconds of your whole life. But also, like consciousness is the ability to think about all that stuff. And the only reason we're able to do the things that we are able to do is the ability to think about the future in a way that other animals can't or don't seem to be doing. Like a dog can think probably 3, maybe 4 steps ahead. Maybe. Cats, maybe around the same, maybe one more step. Like with their problem solving. But like humans it's infinite, it seems. It seems we can game out just, to our heart's desire what's going to happen down the road. So it's like that's our superpower, and it's also a curse. That's what consciousness really is like the conception of self through the continuum of time. You know what I mean? Like to be able to say I have continuity is what brings us such misery and such interesting change.
Hard one with that. Like here's the thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm like sort of it and also outside of it, I feel very strongly that life is a good thing. Mm-hmm. And so obviously like I'm part of life, but also there is a way in which humans are sort of, not just biological, but also cultural and technological. And so when I'm like, from that perspective, I'm like, boy, it's good that life exists, but there is no suffering in a world without life.
Yeah.
So the fact that the only world without suffering is a world without life.
No suffering on Mars.
If we wanted to completely destroy all suffering, we could just imagine a world with no living things and it would contain no suffering. And would that be a better world?
Well, I think for God believers, you already believe in a world without suffering, right? And that's heaven. Like it is a world unto itself. It's a realm of existence or super existence. I don't even know. It's a realm. And you believe that suffering is non-existent in heaven, which means that God is, of course, totally capable in his infinite power to create a non-suffering form of existence. And so it begs the question, why not that all the time? Why anything other than heaven? It doesn't seem to make a lot of logical sense for a God that is perfect to create non-perfect things, which is why not why, but it's one of the many conundrums that could lead you to believe that it's not real. Really what should do it is the lack of evidence, though. Because a God could exist that has those properties, and it's just a bad entity. Totally. Frankly, I think if Christians feared God and thought it was evil, I would have more respect for the cult, like their position. But they'd be like, we can't give people health care because we have to prepare for the angel war.
I don't have like a philosophical reason why, but I just believe that it is better to have life.
Yeah.
And so in the same way, I believe that it is better to have culture and it is better to have consciousness.
But it's hard to make sense of some of the ways that humans hurt each other.
Oh, yeah.
Man, he sounds so nasally in this relative to how I've heard him every other time.
And I don't think that ignoring or minimizing or diminishing the horrors we visit upon each other is the right solution.
Right. I do think that there is space for curiosity about that, which isn't a sort of like a first instinct that one has when it comes to horrors. And there's space for eventual compassion, if not forgiveness, where there's just like not like a requirement, but it is a thing that can happen and can be positive.
Right.
I don't even know what they're talking about. Forgiveness for like atrocities and stuff. I mean, the only thing I'm thinking of in this case is, of course, the genocide of Gazans. So yeah, I don't know that I'm going to get to a forgiveness realm, but in terms of like a God allowing humanity to do that, I mean, I don't know. The religious mind has to. I mean, they get pretty upset when you bring it up. Like they'll be like, no, they don't want to talk about it or think about it, and they'll try really hard not to have the conversation. But I think it's just like obvious that the God that Christians, especially Christians, say exists is just evil by their own description of it.
But I understand having a hard time having faith in humanity, and part of how I'm able to have faith in humanity is to believe that I am walking alongside forces of love that are greater than myself.
Right.
And that's part of how I do it. Hank does it a different way.
Yeah, he means like God, forces of love greater than himself. So I just don't think humans need to externalize what they think is goodness, because that's clearly generated by Hank or John. Like, John is the one generating the hope for love and generosity and goodness and kindness and all that. Like, that's him. It isn't an external force that's doing that. He feels as though it's an insurmountable task to fight without some kind of externalized force, which means he's kind of negative about humanity. And that's interesting, because I do think that John is a little more negative about humanity than Hank is, and Hank is a little more positive about humanity. But I do think that both are very measured, and I think they're both informed, smart fellas. But the way John, I've watched John talk about his religious belief, and when he describes it, it sounds deistic. He doesn't sound quite Christian. He doesn't describe it as Christian.
The last thing I'll say about it, McKenna, is that you're on a journey of meaning, to quote the great Hank Green. You are.
I think that was you, but okay.
Well, to quote the even greater John Green, then. But you're on a journey of meaning that lasts a lifetime. Like, that's what we do here, is we try to make things easier for each other and try to understand as best as we can.
It's a cool conversation. I do wish that humans were trying to make things better for each other all the time. I don't always believe that that's what our motivations are. I would like to think that we skew towards camaraderie. Someday we might. Not to make it about the boomers, but whatever happened to that generation made them incredibly anti-community. And I think because we were raised by that generation, there's a lot of the millennials that are like, man, it'd be nice to have community. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to be nice to each other and to make sure we all have what we need and not have to worry about, paying your dad rent or some shit. The lead really probably fucked a lot of them up, for real. One of the reasons I like Greco-Roman mythology is because they realized their gods were assholes. Well, even the early Abrahamic god was recognized as an asshole. And that's, of course, because life sucked more back then. It more often sucked than it does now. Because, of course, right? Because we crawl out of the fucking dirt. We're just animals. So, it was tough. It was a tough go. Can you imagine if we all lived like raccoons live without humans around? It's what we lived like. We're just big raccoons, hairless ones. When you think about it. That's true, by the way.